There is a silence most people are afraid of, a silence not born of awkwardness, but of truth, the kind that settles in after pretending ends, when the masks fall gently to the floor, not with drama, but with grace. A man falls in love, not when a woman gives more, but when she stops giving what was never hers to give. She stops proving, explaining, pleasing, performing. She returns to herself, and in that quiet return, something ancient awakens in him. Not lust, not hunger, but memory, recognition. He remembers something he never had words for, not from his mother, not from his lovers, but perhaps from the dream of a woman he once met, in childhood, in stillness, in a forest, or in a dream that felt more real than life. You see, a woman who stops trying to be loved becomes unavoidably luminous, not in the way light is bright, but in the way shadows can be deep, in the way you can feel the weight of the moon, even when you cannot touch it. There is a kind of love that men don't find in the obvious. They don't find it in noise, in games, in performance. They find it when something stops, and in the quiet that follows, something listens. A woman stops chasing, stops waiting for permission, stops measuring her worth by his gaze. And when she does, when she truly lets go, a man doesn't see a gap. He sees a doorway back to something lost, something he forgot he needed. The irony is, she isn't doing it for him. She's doing it for herself, because the cost of the performance became too heavy, because the ache of pretending finally outweighed the fear of being alone. And yet, that is exactly the moment when something shifts in him. He falls in love, not with her giving, but with her being, not with her desire to keep him, but with her freedom to walk away. There's something men know, those who have lived through storms. They know the difference between warmth and fire, between sweetness and soul, between attention and presence. And they crave the kind of woman who no longer plays to be chosen because she has already chosen herself. She doesn't explain her silence. She doesn't fill the air with apologies. She doesn't try to be softer than she is. She lets the rain fall. She lets the fire crackle. She lets the moment breathe. And he breathes with it. For the first time, in what feels like years, what she stopped doing was abandoning herself. And that is what changed everything. A man falls in love when he can sit across from her and see she is not there to complete him. She is not a cure, not a balm, not a reward. She is a presence, a mystery, a soul that belongs to the world, not to him. And paradoxically, that is when he wants to stay. He wants to sit beside her, not because she needs him, but because she doesn't. He wants to protect her, not because she is weak, but because she is real, unperformed, unpolished, unafraid to be quiet. In a world that rewards noise, she stopped chasing love and became love, not a performance, not a role, but a field that can be entered only with reverence. Most men will never speak of this because they don't have the words, only the ache, only the memory, only the moment when time slowed and she simply looked at the fire, not at him, and he loved her for that. You see, when a woman finally comes home to herself, she stops looking for mirrors. In the eyes of men, she no longer tries to be understood by those who cannot meet her depth. She lets them go, kindly, without bitterness, just gone. And that is when the right one begins to see her. He sees the curve of her solitude, the way she holds silence, like an old friend. He sees the sorrow she doesn't hide, and the grace with which she carries it. He sees the wild in her, not as something to tame, but as something to trust. And maybe, for the first time in his life, he feels safe. Not because she offers safety, but because she is not afraid of herself. She no longer asks to be chosen. She no longer waits to be called beautiful. She no longer bends just to keep someone near. She stands, still, in the quiet knowing that she is enough, without decoration, and he falls. Not all at once, not with fireworks, but with reverence, slowly, completely, quietly, like water, finding the root of a long-forgotten tree. So yes, a man falls in love when a woman stops trying to be loved, when she stops performing, stops pleasing, stops offering what costs her peace, and begins, finally, to rest, not in his arms, but in her own. That is what he sees. That is what stays. That is what he remembers. Long after the moment has passed, long after her voice is gone, long after the world moves on, some women wait to be loved by becoming smaller, quieter, sweeter, more agreeable. But the love that endures comes when she becomes fuller, truer, wiser, and still not loud, but certain, not desperate, but present. There is no advice here, no tricks, no secrets, just the truth. As old as time, he falls in love. When she stops giving what was never hers to give and returns to what can never be taken away, herself. Note, the rain continues, the fire lowers to embers, the voice fades. You sit alone, but feel less alone.